Good afternoon. This is William Lake with the Department of Modern and Classical Languages, and this is part 2 of your GIMP tutorial videos. In this video, you will learn how to seamlessly insert a piece of an image into another without any background residue, let's call it. And so this can be quite useful for postcard projects with text. As well, this is also the technique, the most advanced form of this technique is what is usually what has happened. For example, if you see photos on the internet of Darth Vader in the car with John F. Kennedy and things of that sort. But before we move on to something as ambitious as that, I think we will start with copying the sun from the Argentine flag onto a blue t-shirt. And that will be a good introduction to this technique. So I've got the two files I'm working with that I obtained from, let's see, the Argentine flag I obtained from Google Image Search, and the blue t-shirt I also obtained from Wikimedia Commons. So let's open up both of those, first of all. So edit with the GIMP, right click, edit with the GIMP, and then this one. I will also right click on it and edit it with the GIMP. Now, I'll minimize my folder here, and there we go. We have our two images. Now, before we even want to think about merging the two, I recommend then creating a third image, which will serve as the canvas on which we join both of these, and we move this sun to the front of this t-shirt. And so, new image. We don't need a lot of space for this, so let's just make it 1000 pixels by 1000 pixels. And the other thing that's very important is that it has a transparent background, because that will allow the most flexibility, and it will also lessen the chances of unnecessary image residue showing up in our transfer of the sun logo to this t-shirt. So click OK. Good, there we are. Now, first order of business is to copy the t-shirt into our new area. So we will select this window here, and we will copy it, and we will then go over to this window here with our new image, and we will click paste. There we are. And here you'll notice in our layer toolbar, this layer with the t-shirt is now floating. Now if it's floating, a lot can happen to it. So to protect the integrity of this image on which, the layer on which the t-shirt image appears, we'll right click on its option, on its entry here in the layers in our new canvas, and we'll click to a new layer. There we are. Now we have a new layer. You know it's on a new layer because this eye means it's visible, and so when you click on this eye to make it invisible, not there, but the space is. So we'll make that visible again. Excellent. Now I think it's time to copy our sun logo onto this t-shirt. And so we'll open up this. We won't be copying all of the flag, of course. So with that in mind, now might be as good a time as any to use. You have a couple of options. You can either use the crop tool or the simple selection tool. I would personally aim to use the simple selection tool here, which is this rectangle select tool that is a dotted line, a dotted rectangular outline. So we'll select our sun here approximately, and just like with the cropping tool in the previous video, we can adjust the size of the selection. Now, with that in mind, okay, that works well enough for me. We'll copy this. You can either use your Control-C commands or the graphical user interface here, either one. And now, let's move back to our canvas here. Paste. Yes, so here's part of what can happen if it's a floating selection, that the sun is trying to show up on the t-shirt's layer already. So in order to rectify that problem, let's right-click on this floating selection here, and we'll set it onto its own layer. There. Now you can say that it's its own master. Now we're ready to work on both of these things in their own context. In order to move this sun a little bit out of the way so that we can see the t-shirt behind it, let's select our move tool here, which is where these four arrows branch out from each other. And it's our move tool, and we'll click on the sun, and now it can move some. We'll move it into the corner here. Now, obviously even if we shrink this sun right now, it won't look natural on the t-shirt. And so keeping that in mind, let's zoom in here and make sure that our sun layer is selected. And for me, the quickest way to get rid of this white area around the sun will be to use what is precisely the Select by Color tool, which is quite powerful because it will select contiguous regions, contiguous pixels that are all of the same or similar color, and it will just select them for you, so you can automatically delete them. So here you see I have the Select by Color tool. I'm going to click on the white area, and now I'm going to press delete on my keyboard. Ah, look what happens. It took care of the white for you. Depending on what kind of image you're working with, that regular way of doing things works well for you. Another interesting feature to keep in mind is the Feather Edges tool in your Select by Color tool. And just to give you an idea of what that does, it gives more of a smooth cut of whatever happens to be around the image. So you see this, it doesn't quite select as much of the white, and it leaves a little bit of an aura, we'll say, around the sun. And so that would be one way of copying it, and then you would have this aura around the sun. Or you could just copy the straight image. I want you to be aware of this, but I think, in my opinion, it'll be better if we have a clean cut for this job. Just so you're aware, it's the Feather Edges checkbox here that can enable this smooth functionality. And so I'll press Control-Z to undo what I just did, and we'll uncheck the Feather Edges box. And let's try that again now. So we'll delete the space around here. Excellent. Now I think we're almost done. So click on the sun here, move it. Ah, we've got some residue up there. Not to worry. Probably had something to do with the fact that that end of the white space was above the reach of our screen. In any case, nothing to worry about. It's just something you select with the rectangle select tool and then delete. And so you move the sun over here. It still looks a little bit large. So what do you do? Make sure your sun layer is selected. Go to Layer and then Scale Layer. And the easiest thing is to go by percentages rather than pixels, I've found, if you're working in approximations. So let's see what happens when we take the size of the sun down to 33%. So 33, 33. And important thing to note about this chain link, these chain links here, these three chain links, as long as they're together, whatever you type in one of these boxes will be immediately applied to the other, which I find quite helpful. So if you take the width to 50%, then the height goes to at least an approximation of 50%, depending on the image size. But then, careful, if these boxes are not checked, then, and let's say your height is 50% and you make the width 200%, you'll end up with something rather not kaleidoscopic, more similar to some funhouse mirrors, which will work for some projects, but not the purposes of this project. So we'll click Undo, and we'll go back to Scale Layer. And yes, let's take it back to our original 33%. There we go. Some of the rays of this sun seem to extend a little bit beyond the limits of the t-shirt. And so let's, no, that's scaling the image. Scale image, or excuse me, Scale Layer. And then let's see what happens if we then go down by about 25% more. Alrighty then, that fits. If you like, you can click over here in this area that measures the pixels and draw a guide for yourself right down the middle of the t-shirt. Let's see, let's make it go around where this tag is, and then that can help serve as a guide for where to drag the sun itself. So let's drag this until, and the other thing is the GIMP will sometimes assist you in dragging something to the guidelines. So you see I'm dragging this everywhere like a madman over here, but then here it can make whatever you select snap to whatever kind of guideline you establish. So keeping that in mind, that looks almost centered. You could play around with it for a while, but in any case, there is the t-shirt design. Now, of course, we have all of this empty space, And so rather than doing a lot more to deal with that, you can simply click Image and Auto Crop Image. Oh, never mind. That was according to the area of the sun. That won't be good for us. So you have to select a layer with the image area you want for auto crop to work. So Image, and then Auto Crop Image once the t-shirt layer is selected, and then there you go. That was what we were looking for. And so there you have it. Now you have an image of a t-shirt with the Argentine sun on it. So that's something else that you can save as. Let's see. Argentine Sun project. So that's one way of working with that, of course. And that this is the XCF will preserve the integrity of all of your layers and things so that you may continue editing them. And then if you want to export this for use on the web or a PowerPoint file or anything else, then here's where you go to File and then Export. And there you go. Portable network graphic, JPEG. You have all sorts of options here, many of which may seem new. But all the ones that you need are really there. So Argentine Sun project, portable network graphic, yes. Export. Let's see how that looks. Ah, there you go. Yes, a rather cohesive design. There's always some room for improvement, but these are the basics of transferring one portion of an image seamlessly onto another, and I wish you the best of luck in your continued journey with this technology. I'm William Lake with Modern and Classical Languages at Georgia State University. Have a good afternoon.